where I have been berated by one individual for the last hour plus on my lead this morning, which was a simple question for Wiggy with regard to the New England Patriots returning to practice yesterday without pads after a day off. And so I am open to, if I am being unnecessarily critical of Jerod Mayo.
That's Gresh's side of the street.
This individual says I'm not giving Jerod Mayo a chance. I am open to adjusting the way I talk about it. I think there is a glaring difference between the way Bill Belichick coached this football team for 20-plus years and the approach that Jerod Mayo has. That may be Jerod Mayo may be proven to have the right approach. But
don't we give a hard time to all the coaches that tried to be Bill that weren't Bill?
Yes.
To Matt Patricia, sit up when you're talking to me, or Joe Judge, or any of the litany of guys that tried to be Bill and they weren't Bill. And you know what? If Jerod Mayo fails this year, he and Bill Belichick will be the exact same. Until you have a quarterback, you can't coach in today's NFL. So, yes, he's opening himself up for failure, and I'm sorry, terms for critique, by not doing things the same way Bill Belichick did. And if the season starts and they're undisciplined and they're making mistakes and they're all those things, then he will get hammered for it. But I feel like we should be celebrating the fact that he's at least trying it some way different when we ripped everybody for ripping off Bill.
Do we have if we wanted a comp locally, do we have a comp when it comes to the Boston Bruins and a hard-ass coach who Jake DeBrusk and others didn't want to be yelled at by, and so we acquiesced and said farewell to Bruce Cassidy, and he went and won a Stanley Cup the next year if you're a Golden Knights fan.
I think Jerod Mayo's more like Joe Mazzulla, though. Like a player coach, a player's coach, a guy who's younger, a guy who seems like he can relate to the players, and now it will just be if Jerod Mayo can control a locker room like we saw Joe Mazzulla be able to do. Control egos, control personalities, control, how these guys mesh together. That's a better comparison.
It's way different to me in the NBA. When you say control a locker room, like I don't think Joe Mazzulla controls the locker room. I think Joe Mazzulla does what Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown want him to do.
And it works.
But that's five guys or two. Yeah. That's two guys.
Yeah, but I would say
it's a lot different.
It's different, but it's
NFL.
difficult. What Courtney's alluding to. I mean, we know, even if we agree that Jaylen and Jason don't hate each other,
yep.
They're very different.
Yes.
Right.
And they have people around them. They have camps. They have sensitivities. And I think I didn't give, specifically me, I didn't give Joe Mazzulla enough credit for what he did with that. On this, though, Wiggy, I feel like Greg makes a great point that there are guys that you hear that hated Bill, whether it's Gronk or Tom Brady or other guys on those Edelman podcasts, that hated playing when he was here but respected him and appreciated it when they were done.
They can't stop gushing over him now.
So, I feel like that the way, if I'm DeBrusk, I don't know how he feels. And I saw Cassidy win a championship with the Knights, and I got eliminated in the first round, I would feel a little bit responsible for that.
See, the difference is, though, and I think the judgment on Bill or Mayo is unfair because Bill is an old school, cut from a different type of cloth of coaching style. When you look at the NFL, there aren't many coaches that have an old school mentality way of thinking, and there were no coaches or very few that are like Bill Belichick, who's been coaching since the 70s. So the way Bill had to evolve with players, and now with Mayo, who comes in as a former player from not too long ago, who understands how today's NFL is, it's night and day from what we know with Bill. Like me playing for Bill and playing for a younger type of coach is two different things.
Everybody, it's an unfortunate thing. Everybody has to have a boss. There is a general mood that exists. No disrespect to Courtney and Shine, but there is a general mood that exists with a generation of people who don't want their boss to ever tell them what to do or to raise their voice to them. And so if you let me ask you about Jerod Mayo. If you had to guess what happened after Matthew Judon stormed out, dressed him down in front of everybody, and then stormed out of there, what do you think happened? My guess is that Jerod Mayo had to go apologize to him and go say that he was sorry because Matthew Judon is not in pads and practicing and sitting on a trash can.
I don't think so.
But even if that happened, Wiggy, you make this point all the time, and you're right. The way you were coached is different than the way your sons are coached.
Yes.
And all the players that are entering the NFL now view Bill Belichick as a relic. Like, they get recruited since they're 16. They get cars. They get new locker rooms. They get everything they want.
Okay, so
you
Curtis,
can hate that. That's fine, but that's the reality.
Okay, so Curtis, it's not a good thing with actual preseason football a week away for the Patriots to put pads on.
Yeah, but that's
not a good thing.
See,
anymore.
but Greg, here's the problem. You want to live in two worlds. Courtney talked her lead this morning. She talked
Seaport and Nantucket.
She talked about Simone Biles. I'm from a world of playing where it's like suck it up, shake it off, and get out there and play.
It worked for you. It won you a Super Bowl.
But you can't do that in today's world because Courtney's lead was, think about what her lead was about the Simone Biles and people saying she quit on her team. You have to coddle the newer.
You don't need to don't like.
No.
Biles didn't need to be coddled.
No. But Courtney, the way when I say coddle, you have to coach and approach the new style of players differently because the biggest thing in today's sports world is what? Mental health issues, right? They talk about that. So yelling at me could work because I'm not from that era. But today's athlete, you can't do that.
Wiggy, it didn't work for a lot of people. And it didn't matter. Like, that's the way you get better, is somebody helping you, holding you to some sort of accountability and standard.
But even Bill Belichick changed that. Last couple of years, how many times did we laugh when Bill canceled practice and did OTAs early? He's evolving because what's Bill's favorite quote? Do business as business is being done.
Yeah, I just am. I hope. As a fan, I hope it works out. I hope he's here for 5 years. I hope his new approach, which is, taking it easy.
This is the only Mayo you've never liked.
I hope I hope it works.
Can you imagine me going up my rookie year, me going up to Bill Parcells and going, "Hey, Bill, I need a mental day." To Parcells,
that's what I'm saying.
I need a mental day because I'm feeling all these anxieties and this, that, and the other.
Don't you think it's good though that mental health has?
No. But what I'm saying is we're from a different era. That's the way you have to handle people today. Like Curtis is right. My boys are coached in a way where you have to handle them that way. Hey, what's wrong with you? Why are you feeling this way?
You don't have to. People choose to.
You have to because if
the right
not,
thing to do.
If you don't, the players today, whether it's right or wrong or how you agree, are not mentally built the way we used to be built. So that's why we have the Simone Biles or some of the other athletes who need that rest in mental recovery days.
In an office or in a workplace, do you think it's a good thing for the entire organization when an employee is not participating in what's going on and is dressing down their manager in front of everybody else?
But Greg, you've been in the business for a long time. You've been in just the work field a long time.
He does look kind of funny with those keys around his neck.
Who? Ken? Oh, yeah.
He's a big lanyard guy.
Ken, are you delivering a bagel to somebody?
Yeah, what are you doing there, buddy?
Went to Kurt.
Oh, wow.
Thank you so much.
Curtis gets a bagel delivery? I'd like a bagel.
Yeah, me too.
You can have half.
When did we put our orders in?
Yeah, you were just standing there. But Greg,
butter? I love butter in a bagel.
You've been in a world of how the change and the evolution of the employee and their sensitivity or what they need is different. Your bosses back in the day said, you ain't taking no day off. You want to take a day off, guess what? We'll get somebody else to do it. But now, hey, if you're not feeling right, the bosses say, guess what? You got to take the day off.
Now we have Flex Fridays here at the Tipsy Seagull, Fall River. This is Bob in the car. Bob, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Great show. Greg, I'm your age, but if you never were in the military, but I was in 30 years ago. Basic training now is totally different than when I went through it. They can't yell at you. They can't touch you. It's, you know what I mean? It's night and day of basically when Bill started and what the coaches starting nowadays are. It's basically, it is the sensitive.
Yeah.
You cannot do anything to harm the player. You can't talk back to them. You can't scream at them. It's basically the same thing in high school sports, everything. It was different than me and you went to school than going now.
Right.
You know what I mean? The kids could get together and get the coach fired off a high school team now.
Yeah.
All the parents got to do is come in and complain.
He's spot on.
Like my best friend, who I went to high school with, went back to Rivers to coach linebackers or defense, whatever. He quit after a year because the parents were telling him he was being too mean.
Yeah. But see, that's the world that we.
But you think it's a good thing?
No. Listen, I'm not saying it's a good thing.
We didn't create it. We're just living in it.
You sound a little bit wiggy, like you're an old head that's screaming about how hard we had it, and you guys have it so easy.
Right.
It's like it's good that we changed, we evolved from a place where people were berated constantly. Especially, again, I'm going to go back to the Simone Biles documentary. The way that they talked about Marta and the way that Marta dealt with the U.S. Olympians and the women and the way that she put them down, and if they didn't feel well, if they were hurt, they either participated or they didn't, and nobody wanted to tell her that they were hurt, so they just did whatever she told them.
That's how we
That's
play.
not good.
I guess there are still some people left who go to work when they're sick. I hate to break it to you.
I do.
Yeah.
You do.
Right. So Courtney, but Greg, to Courtney's point, but that's how we were coached. Parcells, you get hurt. Parcells said, drag his ass off the field. We're practicing here. Right?
It worked pretty well for him.
It worked well, but I think the sensitivity and whatever word you want to use, so I might use softness as the athlete said, that's just the way we raised them. We have to be sensitive because if not, like the caller said, they'll go complain to whoever, hey, the coach is being mean to me.
Yeah. And I would just say, if you sent a text like Dino used to send text to me, you'd be fired. And that's a good thing. There are some things that evolve.
Yep.
That the workplace is not quite what it used to be.
What would he say in his text messages?
Oh, boy.
Oh,
the biggest douche move he used to do is he'd send crickets, like the word, if I hadn't replied within 2 to 3 minutes. So at like 9 at night.
That is pretty classic.
My phone is popping, and it's John just saying crickets, crickets, crickets.